Salam and welcome to Chai Time Lessons Learn Urdu Episode 3. मेरा नाम Instructor Sara है और मैं आपकी उस्तानी होंगी. For this lesson, we'll be going over how to connect letters. If you need to review how to write letters, you can do so in Episode 2 right here. Writing in Urdu is very different from writing in English. In English, there are two variations of each letter, capital and undercase. We use capital at the initial or the beginning of each word. Also, in English, we do not connect letters to letters. In Urdu, we connect the letters to other letters. In Urdu, there are 4 forms a letter can take. 1 is when it's standing alone. 2 is the initial position, when it's at the beginning of the word. 3 is the medial position or the middle. And last is the final position all the way at the end of the word. These forms may look different from when it's standing alone, but most of the time it's very similar. It may seem a bit scary at first, but we'll tackle it together. So let's get to it. First, remember, Urdu is written from right to left. So first, let's divide the alphabet. We have connecting letters and non-connecting letters. Connecting letters connect to the letter in front of it. Non-connecting letters do not connect to the letter in front of it. We'll go over the non-connectors first. There are 9 non-connecting letters. Alif, Dal, Dal, Zal, Re, Z, J, and Wow. Let's put these into separate categories based on similar letters. Alif. Alif does not connect in its initial position. For the medial and final position, it has a small connecting mark from the right. Connecting Alif on both sides as a medial position would actually make it into the letter Lam. Next, we have the Dal series. Dal, Dal, and Zal. For this series, we're going to use Dal. Dal is the same as Alif. It does not connect in its initial position. In the medial and final position, it has a small connecting mark from the right. It does not connect from the left. Next, we have the Re set. Re, Z, and J. We're going to use Re for this one. Re is the same as the other non-connectors. At the initial position, it does not connect. For the medial and final position, it has a small connecting mark from the right. It does not connect from the left. And our last set is Wow. There's only one letter in the set, which is Wow. So from the initial position, Wow does not connect. From the medial and final position, Wow has a small connecting mark from the right. Non-connectors do not connect to the letter in front of it. So it can connect to the letter behind it, but not in front of it. And so you'll see that these letters do not connect from the left onto the next letter. Think of these letters as being unfriendly. They like their space. Or you can think of them as not wanting to hold their hand out for others, but they let others hold them up. So other letters can hold on to them from the right, but they're not going to go out of their way to hold other letters from the left. Next, we'll go over the connecting letters. First, we have the set for Be, Se, and Be. We'll use Be for this one. For Be, it starts off with a small bowl, and you connect it from the left, and you add a dot at the bottom. For the medial position, a small mark to connect it, your small bowl, and connect from the left. Next, we have the other bowl letters, Te and Te. So these letters are different because at the beginning, there is no loop. It starts with just a small line going down, and you're connecting a mark from the left. You add your 2 dots. For the medial position, you have your connector from the right, you bring it up top, and back to the left as a connecting. Add your 2 dots. For the final position, you make your connecting mark from the right, you loop it out, and you make your bowl, and you end it with the 2 dots. Next, we have our lamp series. Jim, Che, He, and Khe. We'll use Jim for this one. You start this off by taking off the bottom half of the Jim. You make the hat. So, making your hat, and then your connecting mark from the left. You make your hat, and you make your connector from the left. For your final position, you'll be making the Jim, and you make your head and you make your lamp. So your small connector from the right, next we have seen and sheen. We'll use seen for this one. Your first loop and your second loop and your small connector from the left. For your medial position, make your small slant from the right, you make your 2 loops, and you end it with your connector from the left. And your final position, you're going to make seen in its singular form. Next we have swad and zwad. So shave off the bowl and your connector from the left. Now we have thoing and zoing. So for thoing, you're going to start with your line going down, make your circle, pull it out, and that's your connector. So some people start with their connector and some people start with their line. You can choose whichever one is easier and neater for you. And you make the rest of your letter. Let's move on to an and ghan. You start by shaving off the body. You have your head and you slant it out. Just take your an, the head of the an, and just turn it backwards. Some people choose to make this a triangle that's connected to the stem of an instead of the open loop, but again, it's your preference. Next, we have fe. For fe, you shave off the rest of the bow and you keep your circle. For the medial position, you will be keeping your circle as well. And for the final position, you keep the singular form. You have a connector from the right. Next, we have qaf. You start with your circle. You make your connecting mark and 2 dots on top. And the same as fe, make your connector from the right, make it into the loop, and your connector from the left. Add 2 dots. And for the final position, at the end of the word, connector from the right, make your circle and your body, and 2 dots on the top. Next, we have qaf and qaf. We're going to use qaf for this one. So for qaf, you're going to make your slant, your body, and connector from the left. Now you're going to make your connector or your slant. So same as thoing, you can make the connector first or you can make the qaf. Next is lam. Lam can be confused with alif, so I want you to make sure you pay attention for this one. For the medial position, connect from the right, you make your lam, and from the left. And for the final position, as we've done before, from the right, you make your stick and you make your bowl. Now, how does it separate itself from alif? Well, remember, alif was a non-connector, so it does not connect from the left. Next is meme. For meme, in the initial position, we start with our letter without the line. You connect it from the left. For the medial position, make your connector from the right. For the final position, from the top, make a slant as your connector from the right. Next is noon. For the initial position, it's the same as te and te. You're going to have connect it and you add a dot on the top. For the medial position, connector from the right, line goes up, back down, connector from the left. You add a dot on the top. And from the right, connector, and you make your bowl and your dot. Noon. Footy here is going to look completely different. So for the initial position, you're going to make a small V, and underneath of it, you're going to take an apostrophe mark and flip it upside down. For the medial position, you're just going to make both sides a bit longer in order to have connectors. Now for the final position, you're going to have a small loop, very small, and you're going to have a small wriggle at the end. The loop is pretty much the connector, but it has to be distinct. And the wiggle also has to be distinct from the loop. Do chashme hai starts off with no connector from the right, and you connect it from the bottom. For the medial position, from the top, make a long slant, and for the final position, slant from the top right, make it into your do chashme. For choti ye, you're going to make a bowl, connect it from the left, and 2 dots underneath. Instead of the C at the top, you're going to make the same loop you did for choti hai. So 1 small hoop, and you bring it into the body of ye. Now bari ye. Bari ye is very different from all the other letters because bari ye is used at the end of the sentence to make an A sound. So there's nothing for the initial, nothing for the medial. For the final position, we'll be making a small slant from the right, wriggle it up top, bring it to the left and to the right. Our next lesson, episode 4, will be on long vowels, and with that we'll finally be able to read and write Urdu words. If you need to go over short vowels, you can do so in episode 1 right here. Lesson 4 will be our last video in the introduction series for reading and writing. In episode 5, we'll finally begin speaking Urdu. So hope to see you soon. Bahut shukriya or Khud Hafiz.